What's up, people? Welcome back to another explanation video. This time I'm gonna go over the AL overview, the complete version of the game. After 2+ years later, I said I wouldn't make a full review of this game when it's said and done, and I did one that was practically like halfway of the game. Like, I don't even know when was it, but at least a year plus ago. So with that being said, I'm gonna go over quite a few of points and many things I want to talk about, and might be a pretty lengthy video, so yep, just sit back and relax, and I'm gonna go over the things I want to talk about, and yeah, and discuss about the game, the final complete edition. And so yeah, let's do this, shall we? Okay, so there's something I want to talk about before I go into the points that I want to talk about. Now, I'm not a game review guy, nor ever will be, because I do not like giving, too many like opinions, bias, all that stuff to a game that much, because I enjoy playing games, so there's really no point for me to do that kind of stuff. And AL was the exception that I said I would do it after the game is finished, and I will. Last recollection, I probably will go over it, but it won't be the game released like a week, a month. I'm gonna do a review. I personally do not like review games that much, because first of all, if the game hasn't finished yet, there's really no point doing a review. I mean, the only thing you're gonna review is play the story and etc. Like, I don't I don't really watch reviews for any games. I just play it. I don't care what their opinion is, because some people, they don't like certain games. They just talk about like things they don't like and just rant about it. Some games I do quite enjoy it, regardless of their opinion, because first of all, like if the game just come out, you gotta do a review on it, and then some people didn't even get a chance to play it. What if they like it? So it's really that simple. So I try to keep it neutral as much as possible, not as like super biased and etc. So telling people, well, how bad this game is, you shouldn't buy it or whatever. Like, no, that's not the right thing to do for any games out there. Even if you don't like something, that's just your opinion, really. That has nothing to do with other people if they like it or not. That's why I say game review is not really my type of things. I suggest what kind of stuff is in the game. So if you want to try it, try it. If you don't. That's pretty much it. I'm not going to tell you the game is really good, you should pick it up, or I'm going to tell you the game is really bad, you shouldn't pick it up, something like that. So keep in mind that if I do last recollection in the future and talk about it, I will be saying the similar thing. So it's not really my job to tell you whether you should or you shouldn't pick it up the game. So that's something I want to say first before I get into my points of this overview. Okay, so let's start with the story. Obviously, the AL story has 6 chapters, and the story itself is pretty decent, I guess. I mean, and all the SAO stories are pretty long, like especially Hollow Fragment, Hollow Realization, and this one is no difference. And once you reach, chapter 6, the game will be finished, and you beat it once, you get the normal ending. You beat it second time to get the other ending, which is kind of strange because they have to fix the ending because it was so bad at the beginning. And yeah, that's gonna be one of the interesting things, that hopefully the next game will not, do the similar things where like they're just gonna mess up the ending and then put another ending after it. So the story is pretty long. I mean, if you want to finish everything and do all the side quests, you are looking at 60 to 100 plus hours if you want to do everything. Now, that's not including the Ancient Apostles, which are the 8 free updates you can get, like for the other characters that you have to do. There's also one way you can unlock the sword in the end. That's everybody like. Some people are like, how do you get the 5-star sword? Well, to get that before you do that, you actually have to complete these 8 character side quests. Now I don't remember if you can actually do multiplayers or not in the like with or without doing the ancient apostle. I don't remember, but back then I think you have to do at certain point, or you cannot join people or whatever. But other than that, the ancient apostle story itself, it's pretty decent. Like I say, I'm not a really big story guy. I'm always interested in the end game, or things to explore, etc. It's just story to me is just, yeah, I'll play it once, but that's about it. I mean, I don't really like pay attention too much what happened in the story. So like I said, I'm more like into learning the game and enjoy the end game contents, do other stuff besides story, I guess. But I still would do story and enjoy it the first time, play it through it, and other than that, not so much. Now, the other stories you're gonna get is from the DLC, pay DLC. The DLC 1 for Get Me Not, and DLC 2, Matricaria. Now the DLC 1 is actually pretty lengthy. There's like 4 different places you gotta go, and 4 different stories, include the final boss. And the final boss is not too bad. There's a lot of phases, and not much to talk about the difficulty wise, because I don't really know how difficult it is for the story. It's not really my type to play the story like back then, because we already learned the game so much back then. The story don't really matter, it's just like cakewalk. But for newer players, I would, considering these stories are pretty challenging for some people, and there are some fights will be very, very hard. So just be careful with that, get some weapons, get some upgrades before you, take on the DLC 1, especially the DLC 2. Now the DLC 2, Matricaria, is insane, because you have so many enemies you have to fight in the story, and to progress all the way up, and then you have to fight Robin and all the etc. And you have to set up your AIs, because it's not a one-man show. You can't just go up there by yourself with your character only, because you also have to set up your characters, your AIs, all the etc. in order to reach the end. Now, I'm just talking about the story in general right now. That's the focal point. I'm not talking about the Supreme, the other stuff. Other than that, the story itself, surrounding AL is quite decent. I wouldn't say it's really bad or anything, because I don't really know, to be honest. Most of the story for the games, I do like it. So that's why I say it is very, very long. And by the time you finish DLC 1 and DLC 2, you're probably looking at 100+ hours easily, if you're not skipping anything. But other than that, trying to prepare for some of the fights are the only problem to get up to beat Robin. Just even the base game, I mean, he's still pretty annoying, so you gotta learn how to fight him and etc. So the story in AL is pretty nice, it involves a lot of different characters, and a lot of side quests. Pretty similar to the anime, however the anime, it's flipped, like the Yu-Gi-Oh part and then Medina kind of. So it's it's SAO story, you'll be expecting to be a very long and a lot of cutscenes, dialogues. That's pretty much it. So in overall, I think the story in SAO, it's always be will be this similar ways and stuff. So not so much of differences. I mean, I was expecting them to do the same thing in the next game, in the Lost Recollection. So the next part I want to talk about is the multiplayer aspects of this game. Multiplayer is actually fantastic in this game. They did it right in many ways, because compared to the older SAOs, you can't really do a lot of things in multiplayers. and there's only certain thing you can do, and it's not really like you can just run around with your friends in this game and do everything pretty much like just explore, play. Yeah, it's really awesome. The multiplayer is one thing they nailed it really good. However, the DLC is another story. Like you can't do the Ancient Apostles, the DLC 1, the DLC 2 story with your friends. That's the only problem. Other than that, it doesn't really matter. Like to me, they should stick with a similar formula where you can actually do everything with friends. But nonetheless, it doesn't really bother me too much whether it's solo or multiplayer. But I still would like to see that you can interact with other people doing the story, just like the base game. Although like DLC itself would be really fun to do the story, because this game is designed for multiplayers quite a bit, because it was really active back in the day whenever like when it first came out and etc. So other than that, multiplayer is awesome. You can do all the raids, Ancient Apostle, do all the Divine Beasts, and etc. The only problem you can't do is the floors. There's no multiplayer floors, which kind of sucks, because that would be a very awesome to have a multiplayer, dungeons like floors where you can explore together. Well, there used to be an exploit you can do that, like go in there with your friend, but it's practically non-existent because both will be ending up in the different floors and you're not going to see each other's, and there really isn't much to do in there. It's just buggy and it doesn't always work, so it kind of sucks. Like we never really gotten any co-op for the that kind of stuff. But I can see that if they would allow people to do multiplayer floors, it's gonna be a lot easier, because you can literally just help somebody to do everything and if they need to. Other than that, like I don't expect them to put like floors where you can just I mean, you can definitely, it'll be nice if they will let us to farm and do other things, in the floor besides just doing the story, like a separate, floors where people can actually play together, like farming and do whatever. That is totally cool. Just like the raids and dungeons. It's really nice. So the multiplayer part is really good because there isn't much of lags or anything, but however, there are some problems with like getting disconnect or whatever in the loading screen, doing mutated bees and other stuff. Now that's like that happens once a while, but sometimes it could happen quite often. So overall, the server itself is pretty nice and it's pretty stable. The multiplayer part is great in this game, so I just wish they could have let us do a little bit more stuff like in the DLC and etc. But other than that, that's pretty much it for multiplayer. You can do everything, so it's really awesome aspect in the AL game for sure. Okay, so the next part I want to talk about is the bugs and issues in this game. Now, the day one, definitely horrible. There's no doubt about it. A lot of bugs and problems. Now, when I say bug, is the stability, like, game crash and other stuff. I mean, if you want to talk about glitches, sure. I mean, there isn't a lot in this game. You can do some things, but it is not a crazy game where everything is all like glitches. This game is fairly, I say fairly decent when it comes to glitch. There isn't like too many game-breaking glitches, and there's not like there's none. There's some. There's just not a lot like the other games. So it's pretty normal considering clean, you could say. So there's not many like game-breaking glitches. There's only like problems. Like there's so many problems people run into in this game actually, because some people get locked out of like certain story progressions and all the other stuff that I've never seen before. You could ask like do you know how to fix that? I was like, nope. Trust me, there's a lot of things I don't know how to fix because at first I never run into them. And there's no way I know how to fix them. I mean, in order for you to know how to fix something, you have to either that has to happen or somebody, had the same problem. That's the only way you're really gonna fix something or know how to fix something. For me, nah. My game has been pretty like good. I mean, it's just like there's not many. Besides the game crashing and other stuff, you're gonna see a lot in this game. It's just you're not gonna see like too broken glitches or something. Yeah, once in a while you get to see something like, whoa, interesting. But you're not gonna expecting and constantly seeing things like that. So they patched it quite a bit. Like I say, many game glitches, they did patch it for the good. Well, I mean, any game when there's a glitch, people or the devs will try to patch it, of course. Well, the infamous one was, or the famous one is the abandoned dungeons. That was really funny because you can literally go into the Matricaria, the floors, to farm things where you're not supposed to. Kind of sucks because that's such a fun feature to do. And like that's something really interesting, It wasn't made it intended for people to do that, but hey, I mean, it's part of the game, so they fixed it, and now there's a lot of things we can't really farm. I mean, they do exist, it's just that good luck finding them with the RNG is really hard. Other than that, the game itself is pretty stable, especially the later, like the more patches and stuff. They made this game a lot more stable, a lot more better, run smoother, all the other things that it wasn't in the very beginning. So like I say, I hope the next game, Lost Recollection, they will be doing that instead of waiting for the game to release. Moving on to the next point I want to talk about is the endgame aspect. Now, the endgame aspect of this game is definitely heavily, especially if you want to reach the end. It is not recommended if you don't want to do endgame contents, because first of all, like, the endgame for this game is require a lot of work, so there's no other ways to do it. Like I said, if you see all my stuff, you know what it takes. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and like I said, it's just, especially you want to get the ancient apostles, all like 999s, and you want to get the supreme endings. Yeah, that's the thing you got to set up with your AIs and etc. So it is quite a long journey. So before you think about should I do when you finish the story, you gotta make up your mind and think about it. Like, is that something you want to go through and do? Or if you want to just stop anywhere you want, or just don't start any at all. Now, the endgame AL is definitely very tough. That's for sure. This is probably one of the hardest, if not the hardest, SAO endgame you can ever see in any SAO. So there is a lot of different things you got to do. To learn the mechanics, all that, etc., which I will cover that in the next point. So I'm not going to talk about the mechanics too much. But what you need to know is that the end game stuff starts after you finish the story. You do the raids, normal raid, extreme raid, supreme raid, level 400 divine beast, or you can count the level 80s divine beast. That was like very early game after the story, and then the ancient apostles, get them all to the max level 99, like I said. And then you have level 600 through level 900 divine beasts in the DLC 2, and you have the DLC 2 extreme supreme difficulty, and to get the endings to receive those weapons. Definitely a lot of preparations. Now it was a much slower pace back in the day because they did not increase the shards and stuff, while getting the weapons itself is much longer. And yeah, that's the only problem back in the day if you're doing it, because there's tons of grinding. That's only if you want to go to the end game. If you don't want to, then you don't have to grind too much. Technically, you don't need to grind too much at all to reach the end game if you know what you're doing. If you learn the mechanics down and etc. But just need some gears at minimum, just decent amount of gears to fight them. You can still reach the end game. Not perfectly, but you can still reach. It's still doable, so it's reachable for sure. And the end game in AL, there's a lot of bosses and stuff you will fight. But like I said, the ancient apostle is just a long way to go. I mean, like, that is really just patience. Other than that, everything else is pretty much, you can beat it. Just learn the mechanics, upgrade some gears, good to go. But the next part I want to talk about is weapons, gears, variety / build in AO. Now that's always a main thing in SAO, the builds, the gears, all that stuff. What makes this game difficult is that you have to understand the mechanics. That is the key of success. Without knowing the mechanic, you cannot reach the end game. It's plain simple. You just cannot. So that's why it is the stopping point where it stopped a lot of people when Extreme Raid first came out, because everything changed. It was not like the base game where you can just use Finish R and kill things. Extreme Raid Finish R will not kill when it first released. So in order to do that, you have to learn hazard, down, custom setups, incarnations, all that, etc. I'm not gonna go super deep for how the mechanic works. I mean, if you ever look at my explanation videos, you'll find it. Just whatever you want them, learn, you'll find it in there. So, like I say, in order to learn all of that stuff, to even advance the game further, is very tough. Now, the build varieties, don't think about this game like any other games where, like, well, I can use whatever and it will work, it will get to the end. It's not like that. You have to have the base, well, like the base for every single weapons setups and etc. Yeah, you can use the buff a little bit differently, but if you really want to kill the enemy with the weapons, you still gotta hazard it or just mind break or down them and do damage that way. There's another way you can do is the normal attack. That also works pretty well. It is not as fast as sword skills, obviously, but it is definitely viable when it comes to the end game and stuff. So basically, normal attack, the down attack. So diversity, not so much. It's just mainly of the similar structures for the base for each weapons. So if you think about this, like, oh, this game you can just do any build you want for end game. No, you can technically do that, but you still have to use the same principle. It's not like the other big games out there. You can just use whatever builds you want. Well, I can guarantee you there's some games in the end game you're not going to use whatever build you want to do it. It's very specific. So if you don't want to reach the end game, yeah, you can use any way, like any way you want. Normal attack, finish R, whatever. All the base game mechanics still work if you don't want to advance anywhere to extreme raid. So you'll be fine. So the next topic is RNG. Yeah, definitely fan favor. There's no doubt about it. There's not much to talk about in AL, to be honest. It is extremely heavy. You're gonna see the most heaviest in any SAO game by far, because the differences in stats and the chances they're dropping is very difficult. especially the late game, like the 4-star SP items. Like, oh my goodness, the weapons, So that's gonna take a long time because the range between those three stats are extremely high, and then getting the passive and the right passive is very hard. But early game on, it's okay though. I mean, you don't really need to get like super high stats and stuff, but if you just want to get the weapon itself, it shouldn't take you extremely long. But what it will take really long is getting a god roll tier. That's what it's gonna take if you want to get like the best gear stats. Not even the best gear, just the best stats in general. Because you can, to be honest, you don't need it. You can beat the game with just average or just even good or decent. It's fine. It's just people who want to get the highest stats as possible, and then they will spend a lot of time to grind. There's no doubt about it. It holds true in many different games. So it doesn't really matter. It's not just AL. There's a lot of games out there heavily RNGs. There are some other games out there I farm. I don't even farm for the perfect gear. I just farm for the gear, and it's already still difficult to get. So, like I said, RNG is RNG. No matter what games you play, when it comes to farming, especially JRPGs or anything that requires heavily farming and getting stats. Yeah. This game is no differences, and you will be spending a lot of time if you want to look for something really good. But if you don't want to look for something good, just to get the weapon itself and good stats and stuff, it's not going to be extremely difficult. Like I say, the only difficult part is get the best stats as possible, and that's about it. Now, the other thing I don't really like about it is that they cram everything into a chest. Everything, like all the XT, SP gears in there. That's way too many. Like, I hope the next game they really just put some, the important stuff in there. Just don't put all the craps in there. I mean, nobody wants that stuff because we already got the majority of them from lower, farming and stuff. There shouldn't be in there at level 999. I mean, it's just waste of time. And even without that, even if it's just the good items in the chest, I'm gonna guarantee you it's still gonna be extremely difficult to farm for some gears. It is not easy. An example is Extreme Ray. Even Extreme Ray has like maybe 10 or 11 items in the chest. It is still extremely difficult to get a god roll. Not to mention like the Ancient Apostle chests, like there's like 30, 40, 50 gears in there. Like, oh my goodness. Yeah, it is not the RNG whore, but when you put anything like in the chest like that, you're bound to be terrible RNG regardless, because there's too many items. I think the problem is too many things in the chest. If there's a lot less, it will be a lot better. Like that's the problem with the end game farming, is just too many things that are unnecessary, that are actually stuffed in the chest. Okay, so let's move on to the last 2 points. So I'm gonna go with the community as a whole first of all. Community itself is actually pretty good, especially when the game first came out and stuff, and it's very, very lively. Of course, any game you go very long time pass, it gets less and less and stuff. I think it's just because mostly just the, the stuff it takes for it to release, and the extreme rate was really difficult and stuff. And a lot of people, they stopped playing it back then, and they were hoping the game gets easier whenever the DLC drops and whatever. But actually the game is getting a lot harder. It's not easier, which I was right about it. Like, most of my friends like Spoils and Luca, we all predicted the game is going to be extremely difficult. There's no way the game is going to get easier the way this is going. And we are right on point. That's one thing for sure. It is not easy. Now, the other thing is, like, community is great, There's always good community and bad communities. AL has no differences. There's going to be always good and bad. So, you know, like I say, there's so much history for me. It's really funny, to be honest. That's why I just like, make my own community stuff. Make my own server, my own AL stuff, so I can stay away from the Reddit and stuff. This is why I don't do the Reddit and stuff, because you got people over there, they don't like what we're doing, and they don't consider what we're doing is helping. Because if you ever was in the Reddit, yeah, thanks to who, those two guys, they were like, well, you guys are not really helpful or anything. I mean, it's like, well, first of all, I mean, if you say so, so be it. Because since one of them only plays story and knows nothing about the end game, and only talk about how bad the other people are, all they do is just not talk about show bills or anything, like, what do you mean? I have so many videos. I have more videos than talking than you actually have the whole, like, a bunch video playthrough, lol. So I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Now, second is that, like, it's just, hey, if they don't consider helping, I'm not gonna bother to help. You're only gonna help people who wants to help. People who wants to get help, just come find us. So I'm not gonna bother. Like I say, I don't really care about social media that much or post my stuff there. It's whatever. Like I said, it's just I just post on my channel, post on Discord. That's it. I really don't care about social media or have to go somewhere else to show my stuff, and so people, they can like go crazy about it. Well, you shouldn't post it here. You shouldn't like come here to show the flex or whatever. Hey, you can say that all you want. I really don't care, to be honest. That's why I say I don't post any of that stuff. That's the problem with some of the community, because no matter what you do, people's gonna hate you to do things that you do. Hey, I'm not surprised. I mean, it happened in any game, so AL is no differences. That's why I say I just do things in my own places. I don't care about posts on Twitters. I don't care about posts on Reddit. I don't even go to Reddit. I mean, I don't use Reddit anymore because people over there are so awful. I mean, there's a bunch of people. I mean, I'm not saying everybody is awful over there. I'm just saying the owners, and some of them, they came to attack us for no reasons. And that's why you saw me make a video back then. And it was quite annoying because, hey, some people just couldn't take it because, who knows? I mean, that's the way it is. So that's why I say there are some really, really bad communities and histories and stuff. That's the whole reason why I'm not really helping Reddit. If you need help, just come to our Discord or watch our videos. But I'm not going over there ever. Not even the next game. I don't care. Especially the same owner. They're just terrible. So for people who only play stories and they go attack people who actually want to help the community, that is unacceptable. I mean, you say that people, well, you guys don't really help them much. Well, how about you guys just go help instead? I mean, the only thing they're good at it is talking. Just all the final thoughts, wish list, and improvements. Well, there's a lot of things I already said, so I'm not gonna, trying to repeat more because it's already a pretty long video. Because, like I said, this video is not supposed to be short. I mean, it's hard to make an overview video to be short. But, for the final thought, the game itself, after 2+ years, the complete edition. Let me honestly, I don't feel like it's complete. We're still missing 5-star weapons. I mean, we still haven't gone yet. But it's whatever. That's something that's definitely in the wish list. Would be nice if we can get it. Hopefully the next game will get everything, for sure. Overall, AI was a very solid game. It took a while to finish. And obviously definitely one of my favorite game of all time. It's definitely the favorite game of all time. Of course, I played it so long. Otherwise, it wouldn't be. But, even though I like this game, love this game a lot, but there's still flaws. Every game has flaws. Let's be real. I mean, even the best game out there, there's still problem. You're always gonna see, complaints and etc. There's nothing perfect about it. People can always find things to do. Even I can, find things to talk about the problems. But yeah, I do know they are problems. But sometimes all you can do is just work a way around it. And that's pretty much it. That's when I play in different games. I wish the game can be like that, but in the end of the day, it can. Just do what you can to get past it, really. I'm always trying to find a solution rather than, just sit there and think about what if. Well, we can do that, but it's going to take a long time, and it's not going to do anything. So, that's pretty much it. There is nothing is perfect out there. There's always going to be flaws. People always will find flaws. So, like I say, AO is a pretty decent game in general. Especially, that's where all my stuff started to get, popular and etc. And life changed a lot, met a lot of people, and it's awesome. This is just not simply playing a game. It's where you actually, find a lot of meaningful things in lives and stuff. So it's really, really awesome. The wish list, like I say, all the negative things I talk about, I hope they improve it in the next game. So not so much. I mean, I don't expect the RNG is going to be extremely, workable. Knowing where they are, I mean, you can always, assume the worst case scenario is like, oh, it's going to be the same. Well, especially when you have that mentality where you can assume everything is bad, then you wouldn't have to worry too much. Prepare for the worst, usually. But, other than that, improvement, well, at least make the game 60 FPS. The biggest improvement that I really wanted for the Lost Recollection is that make it cross-play. That is exactly what we need for the SAO game. That way we can play with Xbox, PC players. Fantastic. But I don't know if that's gonna happen though. That is my biggest wish list and improvement. I hope they can do that, because that would be wonderful. You know how many times I see Xbox chats in my servers like, anybody want to play? And stuff. I was like, well, we're on PlayStation or we're on PC. We can't play or can't really help. It will be so good if they make it the cross-gen, cross-platform. And then we can all play together without any problem, because there's a lot of games nowadays, they're cross-platform. It is amazing. That's what I wish for. Don't know if that's gonna ever happen. It would be nice if the devs actually do that, because it will help them a lot in sales and stuff, especially, because that way it's a lot. Like I say, you're gonna find a lot more lobbies and stuff active, and yeah, hopefully that would be, like, honestly, that's the only thing I really wish for. I mean, the other things, they're minor, and we'll just have to see what happened in the next game. So that's pretty much it. This is a very, very lengthy video. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I said pretty much everything I want to say. I know there's a lot more thing I can mention, but I'm not gonna drag on. I was trying to talk about the main points and stuff. So, like I say, just listen to it while you do other things, so it won't be boring. It is hard to make an AL like overview and stuff, especially the complete edition / like review, whatever you want to call it. It's fine. There's no reviews gonna be short, really. I mean, it's not gonna happen. That's why I say I don't really make these type of video. It's more like just once or twice the most for the game that I really, really enjoy it. And this game, I will spend the time for it. Like I say, I'm not a big fan of game review, so there you go. I say I would do it when the game is over, and I will. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this long video. Until next time. And there are still quite a bit of explanations I want to do, so it's not quite over yet. And so yeah, see you guys later.